Good morning and welcome to the Hold Up to Hallelujah podcast. I'm your host, Jessie. I hope this episode brings healing and the encouragement that you need today. But most importantly, I pray that it brings you closer to Jesus. Let's get started. Good morning.
Good morning.
I'm super excited to have you on this morning.
I'm glad to be on.
Let's go ahead and open with a word of prayer.
Okay.
Father, we thank you for this opportunity that you have given us to be able to come together and to be able to just share stories and to share with the listeners. And Father, we just ask that this story impacts and touches so many and that everybody that hears it takes something from it and something that you're speaking to them, Lord. We thank you for Jersey and the life that she is living and the love that she has for everyone and the healing that she will bring to people through this story and through everything that she's doing in her life. Father, we just ask your blessing upon this podcast today, and we just ask all these things in your son's name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
So we have my lovely daughter, Jersey, on the podcast with us this morning, and she is going to tell us a little bit about her story here in just a few minutes, but we're going to go ahead and open with a devotional.
Okay.
It's in Luke 9, verse 30, starting in verse 37. It says, "Now it happened on the next day when they had come down from the mountain that a great multitude met him. Suddenly a man from the multitude cried out, saying, 'Teacher, I implore you, look on my son, for he is my only child. And behold, a spirit seizes him, and he suddenly cries out. It convulses him so that he foams at the mouth, and it departs from him with great difficulty, bruising him. So I implored your disciples to cast it out, but they could not. Then Jesus answered and said, O faithless and perverse generation, how long shall I be with you and bear with you? Bring your son here.'" And that's kind of the background of the story that we're going to talk about. But this is like what I want us to really focus on. Verse 42 says, "And as he was still coming, the demon threw him down and convulsed him. Then Jesus rebuked the unclean spirit, healed the child, and gave him back to his father." And what I think is so important about this is that Satan literally attacks as this boy is on his way down to get healed from Jesus. And it's almost like the devil knew that he had to get this boy before he got to Jesus, because if he got to Jesus, he wasn't going to be able to get to him, because he was going to have Jesus' protection. Jesus was going to heal him. And so I think about that a lot in my own life, because the devil knew when I was a kid, the devil knew he needed to get me then, because he knew that I would have the ministry that God has given me now to be able to go out and speak to women who have been in similar situations and people who have been through similar things, but also such very different things. And he's just given me this ministry of presence to be present with people during that time. So I really believe that the devil felt like he needed to attack then even more so than he is now. And every time that it seems like something big is happening in my life or getting ready to happen, it's like the devil just starts attacking in different ways. You know, in some ways it's like, oh, clearly that's the devil. And then in some ways it's like, okay, this is so-and-so and they're really hurting me. But we know that there's always more at work than just what we see with our own eyes. There's more going on in the spiritual world. And so that kind of brings me to a few things that I wanted to ask you about. But I think you have your testimony prepared, and we've kind of been talking about it before now. And I know you've given your testimony at Virgie's house one time before.
Right. Yeah.
So this will be like your, second time?
I think so, yeah.
Second time giving your testimony kind of in a public setting. And I have to say something about that. A couple of years ago, you actually wrote a little entry in a scholarship opportunity and actually won the scholarship, right?
Yeah.
We got to go to Charles. Yeah, that was pretty cool. Do you remember that?
Yeah, I do.
Do you remember you were sick when we were going?
Yeah.
That was awful. It was so sad because you worked so hard for it, and then all of this big stuff happened, and then you felt terrible the day of it. But we still went, and we had a good time. Yeah. But it was really cool because you got to go up there and read kind of. Do you remember the gist of what you wrote?
I can't say I remember it. I mean, like, I know, like, I said, like, the big parts of my testimony, but like, I don't remember, like, word for word.
You only had, I think, 100 words that you could write.
Yeah.
And you had wrote something about the fact that you wanted to be a social worker because social workers had helped you find a family, and you wanted to be that for somebody else. And it was very impactful for me, but I think it was very impactful. I remember looking around the room and there were people crying, and I was like, this girl is moving mountains. So I'm excited for everyone to hear your story. But do you want to go ahead and read that for us?
Sure. Okay. So I guess I'll start, growing up, I always had a big family. there was 3 girls and 3 boys. I guess my mom had her first kid when she was 17, and when I was born, the oldest was 13. There were also 5 kids before me, so as far back as I can remember, our mother and father always took care of us, even though like we never really had money. But we never really realized we never had money because we were always hanging out outside or going to the neighbors and hanging out. But I never really remember arguing, but when I was so young when they split up, like I just remember like my oldest sister had graduated, so like I was like around 4 or 5.
Mm-hmm.
My father was always my best friend when I was growing up. However, when they split up, he kind of like shut himself away a lot. Eventually, he was going to the clinic every night, and these pills were making him better like somehow. Meanwhile, my mother, she was dating this guy. He was an odd person, but he was very skinny. And my mother was also kind of skinny. She almost looked sick. My brothers, they also started looking a little sick around that time. My mother had gotten pregnant by the guy she had been dating. My mother was very aggressive during her pregnancy, and we also moved around a lot during her pregnancy. Moving around meant I didn't fit in. No money equals no food, no new clothes, and no new shoes. So I got bullied. I got bullied for being smaller than everybody. I got bullied for not having new clothes. And how I like staying inside with the teachers. But the truth was, I liked staying inside because I didn't have friends. By the time my mother had had her baby girl, I was 6. My mother had not been making us go to school, and my brothers were on drugs and got sent off. My mother became delusional and kept seeing things that weren't there. She thought people were making a video on her life. Having so many siblings, I always wanted to fit in with them, but they were all older, so not only was I being bullied when I was at school, but I didn't feel safe when I was at home. By the end of 2018, my mother had went fully crazy. She was always flipping out on us, like not only just saying things, so not only emotionally but also physically. It was mainly on me and my sister at that point. In January 2019, my brother called TPS. Then me and my older sister and my younger sister went to a family member. We had lots of fun, but after a month, we were told we were going to be moved to another home. We were sad, but still had each other. But they ended up keeping our baby sister. We stayed at the next home for about a month. But we were preteens, so no one really wanted kids with that much trauma. So on to our next home. We drove down back road after back road into the country. When we finally found the house, it was so nice. And we walked in, and let me tell you, I don't think I've ever seen somebody that smiled so much. But I could tell they were scared. They were really nice people. They were really young, too. But they were amazing. I finally found a school I fit in at, and a family I fit in with. And they adopted me and my sister in 2020. I guess I've always felt like I fit in with y'all. But so I love y'all. And I'm gonna be honest, ever since I've kind of put them through so much, but I'm so glad to have them.
Jersey, we're so glad to have you, babe. That's absolutely beautiful. Like, I love it when you tell your story because it is going to impact so many people. And the more that you tell it and the different audiences that you tell it to and the different people that you explain what happened to, like, it is going to move so many people and help so many people who have been through similar situations or maybe who are going through similar situations. Okay. But, I remember the day that y'all walked in, Well, I remember that when we got the call, when we were sitting at Nana and Pappy's, and it was on a Monday evening, and we got the call, and we were new. Like, we'd never got a call yet.
Right.
We got certified at the end of 2018, and we didn't get a call until 2019, March of 2019. Well,
Yeah.
I guess February technically, because you guys came March 1st.
Right.
So the end of February. And I remember, like, seeing the social worker's name on the caller ID pull up, and I was like, what is this? So I went in the other room and I answered, and your dad followed me in because I was just weird and out of context and out of character. And so I answered, and she was like, hey, we have 2 little girls. They're 8 and 12. Do you guys want them?
Little?
And I was like, is it okay if I, talk to my husband and call you back?
Yeah.
And she's like, oh, yeah, sure, honey. Like, now I'd be like, I'm going to have to call you back.
Yeah.
It's just, like, so new, and we just weren't sure, like, how everything worked and what was okay and what wasn't okay.
Right.
And I got off the phone, and, you know, like, everybody else may not know, but me and your dad never say yes on the same stuff at the same time.
No. Absolutely not.
It's always, like, we're both on the opposite pages, and we have to,
Right.
like, work through it and talk about it.
Yeah.
But we never say yes at the same time. And so as soon as I told him, he was like, yes. And I was like, oh, well, this is wonderful.
Yeah.
Like, this is wonderful. So I call her back, and I tell her. And so Monday, that was Monday, and we went back in the room, and we told everybody what was going on. And all week, I remember us preparing, like, as much as we knew how to prepare. And, like, we went to the grocery store. And I don't know if you remember this story, but we went to the grocery store, and your dad, like, got, like, a like, I still laugh about this so much. But your dad got, like, cans of, like, canned vegetables and, like, canned peas. And he's, like, walking down the aisle, and he put them in the buggy. And I was like, what are you doing with them nasty peas? And he was like, I don't know, kids eat vegetables, don't they? And I was like, no kid is going to eat those peas. And I'm pretty sure, like, several years later, we ended up throwing the peas away. Like, we never ate them.
Me, personally, I don't like peas or corn.
It's nasty. And so I like corn, but peas are nasty. But it was just so funny because we had no idea, like, what we were walking into and, like, what we needed to do to prepare. But, like, we went and we got, like, pizza and stuff, too, that we knew kids would like. But he was also like, they gotta have vegetables.
Yeah, I think, like, the first, like, thing we had here to eat was, like, pizza rolls.
Yeah,
pizza.
I think we had pizza and maybe pizza rolls on Friday night because Suzanne came, like, the social worker, and I love her to death. Like, she really did us a solid and came that night, and she was like, yeah, just, like, have pizza or something, like, that everybody likes. And
we loved pizza.
Yeah, and so it worked out really well. And then you came in so excited about life and, like, ready to you were like, yes, I want to be adopted. Like, yes, I love you. You love me. Things are great. I'll do all the talking. No need to worry. Don't even ask her any questions. Just ask me, and I'll answer for her. And it was like all of these, like, you were just like this bigger than the room personality. Like, it was beautiful. And then your sister was the complete opposite. And this isn't her story, so we won't go too much into that. But, she was the complete opposite. And it was like, and
She's awkward.
Yeah, you guys, like, were really polar opposites. And, I think, like, you kind of made it a lot easier to be like, okay, let's talk, and, like, let's have fun, and let's do all of these things, because you wanted to talk, and you wanted to be involved, and you wanted a family.
Mm-hmm.
And not that you wanted to, like, leave your old family, but you also wanted this family.
Mm-hmm.
And so it was, like, it was a very exciting evening. It was a very scary evening.
Yeah.
And I still wonder, like,
I remember walking in and you were all, like, smiling, and Dad was, like, leaned up, like, against the wall, like, what have we got ourselves into?
And that's, like, to know both of us, like, that's so, like, in character for both of us. Like, that makes sense for both of us, because I'm, like, the one that's like, yes, let's go, let's do this, like, we can do this, it'll be great. And he's like,
I was like, okay, this is nice.
I think it's funny, you were like, it's such a nice house, and it's literally, like, a little farmhouse, and, all of the things that we have seems like it's always a struggle. We're always trying to fix something. But it is, it's very much like a little family. It's very much like a little house, like a country house out in the middle of nowhere, and I love it, and I wouldn't trade it for anything. But I think it's funny that, like, when you came in, that's what you seen. Can I tell the story about Applebee's?
Yes.
I forgot to ask you before we got on. So I'm glad you said yes. That might be awkward if you said no. So what happened was the next day. So that was on a Friday, and on Saturday we went to Applebee's because we were gonna go eat, and then we were gonna go to Walmart and like get a bunch of stuff because we let you guys like pick out some things for your
Right.
room, and then we tried to get some like
I was so
stuff.
excited about that.
You were excited. Nah, I don't know about Ari so much, but
She
you
was
were
just
so
like,
excited.
I'll take this, I guess.
We had to like ask her, like you were like, oh, I like this and I like that, and we had to like do a lot of like, do you like this or this with her,
Yeah.
and like get her to like.
I just picked up everything I saw.
Yeah, I mean, we probably had $1,000 worth of stuff in that buggy.
Yeah.
But we went to Applebee's before, and we were all sitting at the table, and I had to go to the bathroom, so I got up and went to the bathroom, and when I came back, you and Ari's hands were up, and I was like, what? What are y'all doing? So I sat down, and I was like, why is everyone's hands up? And your dad was like, I don't know.
That is such a lie. He told us to put our hands up. And we didn't know no better. We hadn't really ever been out to eat like that.
It was funny. And then you kept asking people, like you asked every single person that walked by the table if you could have a refill. And so you had like 4 drinks come at one time, and you were
hiding them.
You were trying to hide them behind like the menu.
I was scared. I was like, they're gonna think I'm trying to steal the drinks or something. And I was just hiding them. I set up the menu and was like turned it so nobody could see them. I probably had 4 or 5 of those drinks.
Oh, it was so funny. And just like, and it's really like it was so funny, but it was also like kind of heartbreaking in some ways, like that you guys didn't know different things. Like I remember taking you to Chick-fil-A one time, and I was like, what do you guys want? And you were like, what does Chick-fil-A even have? And I was like, it's Chick-fil-A, what do you mean? But it was just like, like you guys didn't get to go out and get Chick-fil-A all the time. So
it was always Ryan's.
Yeah, so
like,
it was like
anything big, like any birthday parties, we always get a Ryan's.
Mm-hmm. And so it's just so like it was just so different, and like getting adjusted to that, and like figuring out each other, because like we were trying to learn about you, and you guys were trying to learn about us, and so it really was a difficult time, but it was a wonderful time too. It was like that we had struggles that we had to work through for sure. That I mean I can't speak for you, but I can speak for me, and I'm so glad that we had all of that, and that that we the blessings, that everything has kind of fallen into place, right? Like the perfect timing, and just everything has been miraculous. Like, you had said to me, not too long ago, you said, we have made it really hard for you guys. And I told you, and I think this is so true, I would do the hard all over again. Like, I could not feel like you were more my daughter. And I'm so grateful for the relationship that we have. And I know sometimes like it seemed a little rocky, especially getting started. Like you were your dad's little shadow. Mm-hmm. And y'all were always like getting into something or doing something. But it seems like the older you've gotten, the closer we've gotten. And I really am really grateful for that. It seems like I had something I was going to say about that, and it kind of left my mind just now. But I am really grateful for that.
Me too.
So kind of going back to your testimony and your story, like what was the toughest part of your whole story, of all of this? What was the toughest part?
I would have to say the last couple months when we were living with our biological mother. Mm-hmm. She was always, she was kind of like not in the right headspace, I guess you could say. And, like, with the drugs in her system.
Right.
Like, you never knew what to expect out of her.
Right.
So, like, she was just so, like, physically and emotionally abusive. Mm-hmm. Like, I don't know. I guess that's probably the hardest part in adjusting to, like, fitting in different places and different schools that we went to.
That kind of makes sense, like, when you say that, because, like, I have the privilege of seeing, like, how you live your life, but I even know, like, even from the very beginning, like, you were always down for whatever. You just wanted to know what was happening.
Yeah.
Like, you want the stability, you want the consistency, and, like, you want to know, like, okay, like, what's this look like? Like, we're, like, because I can remember, like, especially when you, like, were first getting into horses, and you were down for whatever, you'd be like, yeah, I'll help you clean up poop. Yeah, like, yeah, we're going to shovel manure all day. Yeah, that's great. Like, I'll do that. But you just wanted to know, like, what that whole day looked like.
Yeah.
You know, like, you
I
had
was
to.
always curious.
Yeah, you wanted to know about all of it, because if you didn't know about all of it, it was almost like you were kind of like living on the edge and like, okay, well, is something bad going to happen
Like,
after
worried,
that?
Yeah.
Yeah, like, are you hiding something from me? Like, is something gonna, like, is someone gonna come get us? Is someone gonna come take us? And I know that, like, sometimes when you had, we went through a few things where it was really difficult, and we kind of did think that maybe you wouldn't get to stay, or that, you know, Ari wouldn't get to stay. And, you know, those were really difficult things to to kind of maneuver around.
I guess I was always scared that y'all would want to keep one of us and not the other.
Mm.
But I'm glad it worked out the way it did.
You feel like we're keeping both of you now?
Yeah.
I hope so. You, like, froze and looked at me like you didn't ask me that question before. No, yeah. I couldn't imagine life without either one of you. Like, I mean, I couldn't even imagine.
Yeah.
So through the whole Rocky period, was there a time that you ever really felt like you were seen?
Yeah. I guess there was one night where I was laying in bed, and, like, me and my sister, we were, like, my older sister, we were laying in the bed. We had, like, just 2 mattresses that were laying on the floor.
Mm.
And our mother came in, told us goodnight, and, like, she didn't usually tuck us in or anything, or kiss us on the forehead or anything like that.
Mm-hmm.
But one thing she always did was made sure we took our melatonin.
Mm-hmm.
So, curious people, me and my sister didn't really take the melatonin.
Mm-hmm.
But, I'm just saying, she didn't have the best hiding places for us. Like, Ari.
Mm-hmm.
So, she told us goodnight, and she left the room. Probably an hour later. I'm the type of person, like, I don't fall asleep within the first hour laying in bed, because I have so many thoughts racing in my head. So I had heard them arguing, and I heard something that sounded like he had punched something.
Mm-hmm.
And then I heard him walk out the back door and slam it. And so me curious, I went out there to check on her, or see what was going on, and I had seen that she was, like, holding her arm a certain way, and she was bleeding. And there was also a hole in the door, like the bathroom door.
Mm-hmm.
So I just remember, like, she was mad at first that I had went out there, and, like, she was just grouchy about it. But then, like, growing up, like, I always, like, playing doctor, so I helped her wrap her arm. And I remember just laying there, like thinking, like, why did this happen to me? Like, why is it happening to my family?
Mm-hmm.
So, but I guess I felt seen because, like, we were laying there together. It was me, my younger sister, and her, just laying on a mattress in the floor, and watching something on TV. So I guess that's kind of one of the only times I really felt seen, or remember feeling seen.
That's good. When I think of that, like, the first thing that kind of comes to mind when you tell me that story is that I kind of wonder if that's, like, not foretelling how it's going to be in the future in some ways. Like, for you to be in that healing, helping role and helping to take care of someone else. And I wonder, you know, what that looks like for your future, for, you know, if you'll be in that role, like, helping other people.
Yeah.
Whether it's, you know, helping them physically or helping them emotionally. You know, I know you have some, like, big dreams about, like, having horse camps and helping people to kind of work through some of their trauma and some of their pain using horses.
Right.
And so I kind of wonder if, like, that is, like, kind of like a sign of, like, what will come in the future. You know, like, for me, when I was a kid, when we were at court, with my stepdad, who was facing charges. And I remember looking down the hallway at the courthouse and seeing our pastor at the time. And when he was walking down the courthouse, like, there was, like, this long hallway, and he was walking down that hallway, and I remember thinking, oh my gosh, this is awful. Like, the pastor has left the church. Like, this is really bad. Like,
Yeah.
I thought this was bad before, but this is really bad now.
Right.
And, I didn't realize it then, but looking back now, I'm like, that was like the first time that God was really calling me to the ministry and to kind of like the chaplaincy, because chaplains are kind of like out in, the goal is to like be the church, like out in the world.
Yeah.
And, and I want to be like where people are hurting. Like, I want to be there with them.
Right.
And that doesn't always happen in church. Sometimes it does, most definitely. And I don't want to discredit church, because church is definitely needed.
Mm-hmm.
We all have to be fed. And churches really should look more like a hospital wing than everybody's perfect and has all the things together, because that's just not how it is.
Right.
But, it was always like God was calling me to something different. And that's kind of where I landed. But when I look back on my life, that was like the first time that God really placed that seed in my life that I can recall. I mean, he might have done it 100 times before then, and that was the first time that I listened or paid attention. And so I just kind of wonder if maybe that's like the same thing, if that's like the same thing for you. So I'm excited to see like what your future holds and where you end up.
Yeah.
So was there a time when you realized that the way that you guys were living isn't the way that everybody else was living?
Yeah. I always kind of wondered, like why my friends weren't allowed to come over, or like why all the older siblings were, like, my brother's friends were allowed to come over, but like all of mine and my sister's friends weren't allowed to come over most of the time. And I mean, like, I never really had friends, so like I guess it doesn't really matter to me as much as it would if I was still in that situation.
Right.
But I guess like seeing like all the girls walk around with new clothes and new shoes and like look healthy was like always like, why don't I look like that? Why don't I fit in with them?
Right.
Like, why can't I be like them?
That's true. That would be hard, especially to have been, 8 years old, like at the end of that, and kind of like getting into where kids can sometimes be kind of mean. And just, I think, at 8 years old, you're kind of getting into that age where kids are kind of exploring who they're going to be and trying to figure out who they are and all of these things. So trying to figure that out in that kind of environment, I'm sure was really, really difficult.
Yeah.
Was there a time that you ever let anyone else into kind of this world and this stuff that was going on that was maybe happening, in secret and at home?
Yes. One time I had took our mother's like wedding ring, and I was eating breakfast and I sat it on the tray, and I have a bad problem with forgetting things. So
That's still true.
Yeah. So I went to dump it in the trash can, and it was gone. Like, there was no saving it. So, like, I even, like was like, oh, like, as soon as it happened, I remember thinking, oh, I messed up. It's like, I remember just, like, looking over in the trash can, but then I was like, this is probably why people don't like me, because I'm looking in the trash can. Anyways, that's besides the point. So I remember going to my second grade teacher, and I loved this teacher. Like, he was my best friend, and he was also the teacher I sat with during recess. So I told him about it, and like I was tore up about it because I was scared. Like, I was scared she was gonna hit me, and like she just like you never knew what to think she was gonna do. You could never anticipate what she was gonna do.
She's unpredictable.
Yeah. So I remember just like crying, and then I guess the next day I came back to school and there was bruises. Like, I just had bruises where she had grabbed me, And like I'm sure teachers seen that. Like I always kind of wonder like why they never said anything.
Mm.
But also my guidance counselor, she was very nice and she helped me through a lot. But I remember one day I guess I was in the bathroom and I was just standing there and I had heard a girl talking about me and like about how like, I was always wearing long sleeves, and when I didn't, everybody could see I had bruises on me. But she was talking about me, about how I had bruises on me, and just making fun of me. So I was crying, and so then like when I walked out, that same second grade teacher, he was just like, let's go to the guidance counselor. And I remember just like being so upset, like because like it was just like one of the first things, like I didn't really like letting emotions out, but it was like embarrassing because I never knew people realized that kind of stuff. So, but the guidance counselor, me and her talked about it. I kind of like let her in on a little bit of it. But I guess that's really like all the people like I remember letting it out to was them two.
That's like a lot. That's a lot of weight on, 8 years old and not really having anybody in your circle that you could go to and talk about it, with the exception of your siblings. I know your siblings, were kind of in it with you. So they were able to kind of walk with that, through you. But that would be a lot. And really, it's incredible to kind of see, snippets of who you were then and who you are now, and like the growth that has happened in that time frame, because really that's only been like 6-7 years. And when we look at that, like, it's hard to believe that
I was that person.
Yeah, that you were that person, but like that you have just grown up so much and like used so much of this to kind of like dictate, who you're going to be, but in a good way.
Right.
Because like I know you don't do much with like, you don't put up with much if somebody's making fun of somebody.
Right.
And sometimes a little bit more for other people than yourself. Sometimes it's maybe a little bit harder to stand up for ourselves than it is to stand up for other people.
Right.
But it's like you realize and you recognize that, and so you're always willing to like help and to be a listening ear, and you are you are very like, you definitely have the gift of like an empath, like being able to feel how other people are feeling, and trying to, and sometimes like I'll just walk in a room and you're like, Mom, I get it. I'm like,
yeah,
what do you get? Or something will happen and you're like texting me and you're like sending me messages, and I'm like, she's the only person in the world that gets it. She's the only person that knows, and I literally didn't say anything.
Right.
So that really is incredible. And what I just have to say, because you were talking about forgetting things, and I think it's so funny because you are literally the person who like will make a list and forget the list, or like forget you even have a list, forget that you have a notepad, forget where the notepad is.
Right. Or like 1 minute I'll be on the phone with Ari, and she'll tell me to tell you one of y'all something, and I'm like, okay, I got this, and then the next I'm going in the other room singing. Because I forgot about it.
Yeah,
like, I just, like, I'm so normal, just, like, singing and forgetting that I was even told to do anything, but...
Then we'll be like, hey, hey, were you supposed to tell us something? Nope. And then when we say it, you're like, oh, yeah, I forgot about that.
Oh, I did forget to tell y'all that.
That's funny. So do you have, like, a verse that kind of, like, maybe has helped you really kind of get through some things, or to help you, like, refocus? What is that?
Oh, I guess it would have to be Galatians chapter 5, verse 7.
Uh-huh.
It says, you were running the race so well. Who has held you back from following the truth?
What's that mean to you?
I guess it's a reminder when I get distracted by things like boys or just different things, that I need to like put my focus back towards God, and not towards the things that are distracting me.
Yeah, that's good. I like that a lot. I we were kind of talking before we got started about like what your favorite verse was, and I knew it was going to be Galatians 5:7. Do you know how I knew that?
Because I put it on my basketball shoes.
It's literally on your basketball shoes.
Yeah.
Yes. And so I think that's really great, though, because it kind of shows that you're trying to live that out,
Yeah.
like, in every area of your life.
The other day I was trying to show somebody, like, this is, like, sidetracked, but the other day I was trying to show somebody, and I forgot where it was at, and I was like, where's it at?
You're like, I know it's here somewhere.
I really wanted to show you, but I forgot where it's at. Goes along with forgetting stuff.
Oh, that's funny. Well, did you find it on your shoes?
Yes, I did.
That's good. So this past, I spoke in a podcast that we are going to release like a couple weeks probably before this one, but me and you actually had an incredible opportunity this past year. So me and you and one of my friends and Annette and Emmett. Yeah, you were like pointing to me and I was like trying to think what you were saying and then I got tripped up.
Like, don't forget Bubba.
Yeah, but so Emmett went with us. And it was a 14-hour trip. We went down to West Monroe, Louisiana, to a conference with Sadie Robertson for the Live Original tour, or the Live Original conference. And I seen some things on there that were like really, really impactful. But I noticed like throughout that time that there was kind of like a change that was happening in you. And I was wondering if you could maybe talk about that, like if there was a takeaway from that or something that really impacted you during that time.
I guess like it was like closer to, well, anytime they were worshiping, I was just amazed by like how many voices there were.
Mm-hmm.
Because like I guess like in life, like you don't realize how many people are around you
Mm-hmm.
until everybody is talking at once, or in this case, like everybody was singing at once and it was so loud.
Mm-hmm.
And that room was so big. Like,
It was huge.
Yeah.
I think that like you were kind of touching on that before, and I think that is just such a powerful feeling when you are in a room with that many people worshiping God.
Yeah,
like it is
amazing.
really an amazing encounter.
Yeah.
We are really fortunate that we serve the one true God who literally we can be anywhere and do anything and connect with him.
Yeah.
But how incredible is it and how reaffirming is it to be in a room full of that many believers, all seeking Jesus, wanting to be with him, wanting to worship him, and
Right.
just the power that was in that room, because when we do things by ourselves, sure, we can still connect and we can still do that, but sometimes it's just so nice to be in a room full of people who have similar beliefs, who are help uplifting and encouraging us, like throughout that. I think that was really, really impactful for me too.
Yeah.
There were so many things that I took away from that conference, but that really was a once in a lifetime experience. I think like that trip really was so good.
Yeah.
Between the conference and the trip and the ride, the friends.
It was really good. I just remember sleeping the whole trip. I was so tired.
Oh my gosh.
Car rides exhaust me.
Yeah, and you were so funny when I was like trying to wake you up to like restart Emmett's movie so that he would like remain calm, and you were so grouchy about it.
Every 5 minutes you were waking me up and I was just like, just let me sleep.
That's so dramatic.
Please.
Spoken like a true 14-year-old.
I was so comfortable, and like every time I would find the one comfortable spot, one of y'all would be like, will you hand me a drink? Will you hand me a snack? Will you start Emmett's movie? Oh, Emmett dropped his blanket.
So dramatic.
But
So through all of this, I'm not sure if I asked you this question at the beginning or not, but do you have a piece of advice that you have been given? She's looking at me, and I know you guys can't see me. She's looking at me mouthing that she forgot her piece of advice. But is there just something you could think of off the top of your head that someone has told you, or something you've heard that maybe...
I know you had said something, and it was really good. I don't remember though. That's my problem. We just talked about it the other day, but I don't remember.
Was it about forgiveness?
Yeah.
Like if you forgive the people in your past, like it won't hold you captive for your
yes,
future.
That's exactly what it was.
We did just talk about that the other day. So I kind of was thinking that was like where you were going. I do think that's true though. Like we have to forgive people because it holds us captive. Like God tells us to forgive people, and I really think that that's Him looking out for us. Like you don't have to be a slave to this. Like you don't have to be held captive to this.
Yeah, I guess in my case it would be like I don't, if I forgive my biological parents, it's going to be easier for me to like live my life more.
Mm-hmm.
Instead of being scared every time I go around a corner that they're going to be there.
Mm-hmm.
And every time I see them, I freeze.
Right. It kind of gives you that freedom, you know, like I've moved past this. I've worked through this. I'm working through this. And you know, sometimes I think forgiveness doesn't come as like one one swoop through or one decision.
It takes so long.
Yeah, like sometimes I think it takes time. Like, and I think we kind of sell it short when we think like, okay, well, I'm just gonna say I forgive them and I will have forgiven them. Like it's hard.
It's so many more steps than just saying it.
Right. And like sometimes once you start doing it, you're like, you know, I thought I was good. You know, I thought I had forgiven them, but really I realized that there's still some stuff hanging on.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think that's good. That is good. I'm sure there's like 100 other things that people have told you that have been like super impactful too.
I don't remember. But I know I've always kind of like thought about that.
Mm-hmm.
Especially in the past couple of years.
Right. That's true. Well, I thought this has been a really good podcast. I'm so grateful that you came on here. I know that this was like out of your comfort zone a little bit, but I think you did wonderful. And I'm super excited for it to air and for all of the people to kind of listen and maybe they'll have questions or maybe you'll be able to kind of relate to some things that they're going through or that their kids are going through. Or maybe, somebody that's a little bit younger will hear it and they'll be able to kind of relate to your story too.
Right.
I think foster care in general and the drug epidemic in the country is a much bigger problem than sometimes we realize, and a much bigger situation that really we could draw some light, shed some light on. So I'm really thankful for you coming on today, and I hope that you have a fantastic week.
Thank you.